I just want to say a personal screw you to the NFL and the refs for their officiating. Don't at me unless you want to agree with me, then you can at me. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to Pretty Good Cooking.
Pretty good.
Tonight on the show, I'm going to teach you how to cook an ancient grain. And like usual, Arthur's here. There he is, he's chilling. Been trying to figure out if he took a poop recently or not. Think he might have. One of the things I do with my son these days, you know, when we be chilling in the early hours of the day, I wake up super early to take over childcare. And I hold that baby and I put weird stuff on YouTube and we watch it together. A lot of times it's historical, long-form YouTube videos, which is why I would like to recommend Heroes and Legends on the YouTube and or podcasts, which are long-form historical documentaries by some PhD guy in Australia. Highly recommend if you're into that kind of thing. But the other day, maybe yesterday or 3 days ago, who knows, I watched a German-produced documentary on superfoods. It was produced a couple of years ago, so it's totally outdated. And there were all these German people being like, yeah, we eat the quinoa. And so they were like basically looking at the macronutritional profiles of these grains. And I was struck by one thing in particular in that show, which was that quinoa shares a very similar nutritional profile to millet. And millet is often described as a humble grain, or it used to be at least. And I was like, wait a minute, I never had millet. So that's why I'm doing today's episode, because I wanted to try millet for the first time. So here's what millet looks like. This is whole millet, and it is a grain that comes from a grass type plant. And I think that it originates in China, or at least in that region. Okay, let's start cooking. So I got a couple of pots here. I'm gonna get this pot, turn the heat on, got some olive oil, and we're gonna start today with an onion. I think we might do half an onion, because I think a whole one might be too much onion. I'll also acknowledge that the high-level concept for this episode came from a food blog, My Quiet Kitchen, and I can't remember the name of the lady who runs that, but this was originally a vegan recipe, and if you ain't figured it out by now, I'm not really interested in making vegan recipes just for the content, because I never did enjoy eating any of those, to be honest. So I looked at this vegan recipe, which was millet with tofu. And I was like, what if I didn't use the tofu? What if I just put some meat on there? So that's what we'll be doing tonight. So we're gonna fine mince this onion, and you can find all the letters of the word onion in the phrase, oh no, Arthur just shat again. I'm sure all the letters are in there. So we'll pop our minced onion here into the pot with the oil. And I don't want to call this a food hack, but it kind of is. If you got a vegetable tray with leftovers, you can use these in a pilaf, as long as they haven't been sitting out all day, which I assure you, John, these were not sitting out all day. A pilaf is a cooked grain with like some little vegetable bits in it. That's typically what a pilaf means. So here's a little bit of leftover celery that did not sit out all day. Here's a little bit of sliced carrot. And you can see I'm just mincing that up fine. I've got a mini pepper here, a snacking pepper. This is a red snacking pepper. Now here's something real crazy. I actually served the broccoli stems, where I took off the tough outside and I sliced them thin. And you know, you dip a thin slice of broccoli stem in some homemade ranch, tastes real nice. So we got a little bit of broccoli action as well. All right, so here's my pilaf vegetables. Let's go ahead and pop those in as well. These are totally optional, so if you want to make this pilaf of just onions and garlic and maybe a little bit of carrot, that would be just fine. But I'm trying to follow my millennial creed of it's not waste not, want not, it's just don't waste. Just don't waste. Can't feel guilty if you don't waste. Okay, while those are opening up their aromatic flavors, we got some garlic here. We'll go ahead and throw our garlic in there. So if you were to just use onion and garlic, you should let the onions go longer. But I got enough stuff in here that I think it'll make sense to just throw it in now. And while that continues to cook, we can crack a beer. That's right. On a weeknight, even as a dad, you can have a beer. And John can too if he wants.
Okay.
Here I have a Kolsch. Kolsch. That's a beer that, like a beer style where almost all the time it doesn't make me taste too much. Cheers, I haven't tried this one yet.
Okay.
There's something in there I don't like. I mean, it's good, but there's on the front end of like the first drink, something wasn't right with that. Okay, while our vegetables are going over there, we're gonna get our beef pan over here. This is canola oil, and I'm gonna cook this beef in the taco fashion that I like to do, which is I get a big hunk of discount beef from Kroger. It's on Manager's Special, and they always got like hunks of like not that great of beef. And like when they try to sell it fresh, it's always at a price that is not agreeable to me. But when they discount it, I'm like, you know what? I'll buy that crappy beef and I'll cook it and it'll be great. I love cooking beef in this style because if you just chop it up, such as I have here, into a mince, so like a beef mince, not ground beef, but minced, you can fry it in its own rendered fat. It becomes crispy, and the individual pieces of beef are small enough that you forget that it's cheap beef that's hard to chew. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, in a conventional, or maybe even ideal world, I would let this get hotter, and maybe I will. Yeah, actually, maybe I will. We'll just let that get hotter. Our vegetables have a little bit of brown on them, so what I'm gonna go to do is I'm gonna add the millet. There's 1.5 cups of millet. Now, if I didn't know what millet was, I would see this and I'd be like, it's couscous or something. You know, it doesn't look that exotic to me. So we're gonna toast this up a little bit in the oil, kind of give it a fry. And while that's cooking, over here, I'm gonna get some broth going. Now you could just use water. You can always just use water. But I personally have found that for any non-rice grain, I just love cooking it in BTB seasoned vegetable base. I don't know why it is, but to me this just makes the best tasting grains. We'll get the hot water going in the crick, and we need about 3 cups of this fine stuff. Millet, like just about every other grain, follows that 1-to-2 ratio of liquid to dry. So we'll go ahead and pop that over here. Now you're cooking with gas, and we'll get that rolling and a boiling. We'll pop a lid on it, and we're gonna simmer that at least 20 minutes, might take longer. All right, we got some shimmer on this beefy oil, also known as canola oil, that has not had beef in it yet. We're going to pop in our beef, our beef.
You like beef?
I love beef. And because we want to get some browning action, oh, by the way, I seasoned this with some cow tipping seasoning. This is like generic steak seasoning. We want some browning, so we're going to walk away, and this should give us an opportunity to clean Arthur's butt. So we'll be right back. So cooking beef in this fashion, I do this pretty frequently for tacos. This is the most common thing. What happens is that the liquid and fat releases first. So you don't really get a true sear unless you have the pan stupid hot. But you can see there's like some juice in here. As this continues to cook and render down, what will be left behind as the liquid evaporates off is just fat. And then the beef itself will cook in the beef fat, and it's very, very tasty. So I just wanted to give you an update on that. Our millet back here is cooking away. Give that a quick stir. And that's it for now. Back soon. All right, I'm happy with my beef. You can see we got some nice browning on the outside. So we're gonna take this and I'm gonna dump it over here for safekeeping. We'll just leave that dirty pan as is, and we'll use it for other stuff later. Now our millet, on the other hand, I don't really know what's going on here. I'm pretty sure the millet is supposed to burst at some point, or at least get bigger. Yeah, it's not cooked at all. That's just literally not cooked at all. So we'll just let that keep going. Maybe wait a little bit on the beef. I didn't know it would take that long. I'm gonna cook the collards in this dirty beefy pan because of the great profound truth of vegetable tastes good if cooked in meat. Okay, I've been cooking this millet for quite some time, and it's actually absorbed all the liquid, but it's not soft. So I'm gonna add some more liquid, which is just this glass of liquid, and we're gonna let it keep going. I've read in some cases, you just gotta use more liquid and cook it longer, and it's no problem. And now I'm gonna get that going. I'm gonna take care of Arthur. I don't know why he's mad, but he is. Okay, in our big dirty beefy pan, we're gonna add a little bit more oil, more canola oil. And here's the collards. We're gonna remove the tough stems. And I'm gonna just do some like rough chops. Just for the folks at home, John's trying to like wave his hands in the air to entertain Arthur so he stops melting down. And it seems to work. So we're gonna go and pop these into El Dirty Pano. We'll add a little bit of salt. And maybe some smoked paprika. Kind of give it like a little bit of a barbecue flavor. I think that'll be nice. Apparently you only gotta saute them for a couple minutes. But the pan's really not that hot, so we'll give you a quick update on that soon. Okay, I sauteed the greens for a couple minutes, and they are tender now. I'm gonna finish them in homemade pepper vinegar, and that'll help actually release a little bit more of the beef stuff that was on the pan. I also think greens taste nice with a little bit of vinegar. All right, so I've been cooking this millet a long time, and let me show you. It is fully cooked, and you can see that it's kind of like more porridgey like, but there are still obviously, if you do a zoom in, there are still obviously kernels that did not pop and are still hard. It tastes fine, but texturally, I'm not a huge fan. Like, it almost tastes like grits that didn't cook all the way, which is a huge pain. Really not what I was going for. So like, just from this experiment, if all millet is like this millet, I'll pass. I'll go get some quinoa. Okay, let's make a grain bowl. Arthur's inconsolable, so you're just gonna have to listen to him. It's fine. There's my grain slot that never cooked how I wanted it to, but that's okay. I do think that it's nice that I can spread it in an even layer like that. It's neat. All right, so there's our grain base. And to that, we will add some of our crispy beef, which maybe the residual heat of the grain will improve that. Maybe. Just maybe. And we'll add some of our collard greens, which really shrink as we cook them. And just this combo, like this particular ratio, it cries out for something to be here, which maybe would be another vegetable. But today, no, it won't be, because that's it. That's all there is. Now, unto itself, this is a pretty basic meal. Grain, beef, and vegetable. And so it really cries out for like a sauce or like something to make it better. Tastes pretty good. Maybe the millet just needs to rest a little longer. It's not too crunchy anymore. Maybe we actually finally cooked it. But what I will show you is you got sauces hanging around the house. This combo, grain, protein, vegetable, loves hot sauce and it loves other sauce. I made this yogurt garlic sauce for like a Euro kind of thing. So look at that, now it all of a sudden looks fancy. And this is like the most overpriced hot sauce imaginable. It's that truffle hot sauce. Make anything taste good. We'll just do a little bit of that. And look at that, instant improvement on our pretty basic food. And that's our meal tonight. I think what would go really nice here is something pickled. Let me just add something pickled. These are sliced cherry peppers. The only way this show is gonna end is if I hold Arthur for the rest of it, so don't mind me. All right, now it's a round meal. Use banana peppers, pickles, anything. Looks good. Let's give it a try. That schmancy hot sauce is so tasty that you put on anything, it's just gonna taste like the hot sauce. But the underlying components are very tasty. The smoked paprika on the collards, actually really, really good. I'm used to braising collards, you know, like in the southern food. That's really, really yummy. I'll probably eat these more often. And they're really cheap. It was like $1. That's a good veggie. Listen, we gotta wrap this show up. I think that was a pretty okay meal. Will I buy millet again? No. Well, maybe, but not anytime soon. Based on that experience alone, that was way too hard to cook, and it tastes like a pretty generic grain. Not worth the effort, in my opinion, and also it's not cheap anymore. So maybe just stick with quinoa. Quinoa is better than this. Maybe I should write Bob's Red Mill customer service or something. Okay, that's our show. Say bye, Arthur.